And now we move to the Kramatorsk and Toretsk directions of the front. The bloody frenzy of the enemy's army continues. In the Kramatorsk direction, the enemy has stormed the positions of Ukrainian defenders twice in the area of Chasiv Yar. The fighting continues. The Toretsk direction, 8 enemy attacks were directed at our troops' positions near Delivka, Krimske, and Toretsk. 1. Confrontation continues. The enemy also carried out airstrikes through Konstantinivka and Nelipivka. Yes, in the Toretsk area there is a real hell right now. The occupiers are advancing and pushing Ukrainian defenders back more and more. In this direction, everything is working in the armed forces of Ukraine. From heavy artillery to heavy machine guns. The aggressors, for their part, are actively using FPV drones on fiber optics, which are not visible. Ukrainian Arabes. Exclusive details right now in a report from the Frontline by TSN journalist Ruslan Yarmolyuk.
Little drone, it's flying. Let's go in quickly.
And run.
This is Valery, a 42-year-old man from Kherson. He survived the occupation and even went through loss. Now he's fighting near Toretsk. That's not the word to climb.
No kidding, they're really pushing in. They might think or hope that Trump or America is over there. There will be some kind of stop for some reason. Well, maybe they want to take a bit of territory.
In this calculation, all were former civilians. Douglas is 29 and he was an economist.
It was harder to change the image, the life, so to speak. Everything changed drastically from a civilian face to a military one. If you hadn't even been in mandatory service before this, it was tough. For a while, but then we adapted and that was it.
Toretsk is in ruins. The enemy is pushing with assaults every day, dozens of times.
For Odessa. Shot.
Fights in Toretsk are happening for every house. In this video, you can see that the fighting continues in the apartment. A tank and support from Vidu are heading to help our guys.
Different targets, concentrations of manpower, deployment locations, takeoff points, pilot reconnaissance. There, if we notice something where they are gathering, where there might be some warehouses, we hit specific points. Where we notice that they are moving.
The cannonade around the positions doesn't let up, and shells and mines are flying to and from our guys. And there's also a swarm of drones.
Where there is war, there is danger everywhere. Every second. This is where most of it is happening right now. It's a time of war, where videos, drones, and enemy artillery are working very well.
The enemy is moving over the bodies of their own. They're spreading out through the city, securing themselves in the basements. They're gathering people and then moving on to the assault.
A shot.
Assaults are still ongoing. Toretsk, our infantry guys are repelling the attacks and our mortar and machine gunners are supporting them, so that the defenders can hold their positions. In the extreme high-rises, assault troops are entrenched, flushing them out with heavy machine guns.
Quite often they are constantly moving. When regrouping, we open fire on command.
53 years old. Victor never thought he would become a machine gunner. He left a successful business at home and went to war.
I worked as a system administrator, but on top of that, I was a sole proprietor doing repairs and maintenance of computer equipment.
The machine gunners are scattering the ruins where the occupiers are hiding. The intensity of the fighting is high, as evidenced by the empty boxes from the cartridges. It's even harder for our infantry guys because they are facing many enemies and tanks that are leveling the city.
Well, now let's analyze the situation on the Kharkiv and Kupiansk fronts. The Russian world continues to destroy, kill, and maim here as well. In the Kharkiv direction, there was one combat clash. Enemy aviation attacked Kazachalopan, Turiv, and Mali Prokody with guided bombs, while Krasny Yar was hit by unguided air missiles. Kupiansk direction, Ukrainian forces repelled 5 assaults from the occupiers near Dvorekne, Zarizove, and Petropavlivka. 3 clashes are still ongoing. And now about another act of genocide against peaceful Ukrainians by Putin's Russia. A brutal strike on the capital. The enemy struck Kyiv, first with Shaheds and in the morning with Iskanders. As a result of this Russian ballistic attack on Kyiv, 3 people were killed. 3 more. There were also reports of shelling in the city, falling debris, and damage to infrastructure, particularly one of the metro stations. All the details are in the report from the news service correspondents.
Every summer, the water supply is a problem, the plumbing is not working properly, and there are hundreds of issues. Well, the victim was hit by a piece from 3 village rockets. And these are the fragments? There are such cargoes lying around here now. Rescuers arrived within a few minutes. The fire raged in 3 vehicles, mostly in the minibus.
As a result of the enemy attack, we have damage to a business center, a store, an administrative building, and 10 cars. 3 rescuers have already been lost in the fire. Unfortunately, we have 3 deceased people. There are also 3 injured, calling for help from the medics.
There was a woman and a man in the minibus, but they couldn't be saved. Another victim turned out to be a guy who was at the entrance of the Lukyanivka metro at the moment of the strike. He was just running to the shelter, or maybe he was just coming out of it, because after the night alarm due to the Shaheds, the all clear was just announced according to witnesses.
And the air alert was cancelled. The all clear was announced, we opened the store, and then there were incoming strikes.
It was a strike with Iskander-M ballistic missiles as reported by the Ukrainian Air Forces. According to Yuri Inat, one of the missiles was shot down at a low altitude, so the warhead detonated already on the ground. That's where these injuries come from. The aftermath of this latest Russian terrorist strike required the operational services to work all day, and even into the evening.
And now we move to the Novopavlivka front direction. We will be open. This is yet another sacred target for Putin and his gang. Accordingly, the situation here is heated to the limit. In the Novopavlivka direction, 3 enemy assaults were repelled. Overall, the occupiers attacked 5 times in the areas of Novodarivka, Konstantinivka, and Greater Novosilka. Airstrikes have also been recorded on the settlements of Andriivka and Novopil. Novodarivka and Konstantinivka were targeted using guided aerial bombs. Chasiv Yar. This bridge has long become a symbol of resilience, heroism, and bravery of the Ukrainian armed forces. Right now, in the Chasiv Yar area, the enemy is destroying all the villages and access roads around. The sapper unit of the 24th Separate Mechanized Brigade, under the explosions of hit shells, is trying to clear the rural road for access is blocked by scattered munitions that the occupiers are sowing all around. This work allows both the military and a few civilians to pass through. Still remaining near the city, the correspondent of SN, Ruslan Yarmolyuk, spoke with the Ukrainian defenders.
One input, to promote the confounding of the enemy. Another input, in human links. One input capturing. There are fewer and fewer people like Irina in the villages near Chasiv Yar. People are running away from the war. Come in, here. So come in here. Everything around is shattered by shells, artillery, and FPV drones. There are no intact houses left on the street. All the roads are torn apart by craters.
We arrived at the site where an enemy FPV truck was blown up. As a result of the explosion, artillery ammunition was scattered. At the moment, reconnaissance is underway, then we will destroy them.
Army sappers, while the sky is relatively clear of enemy UAVs, are clearing a rural road.
We collected all the shells that were lying on the road. This is so that peaceful people can pass through, just as you saw.
Burned shells are being taken to a pit on the roadside. They can't be transported because they are already armed. It's going to be hard for the vehicle to get in because enemy drones are hanging everywhere.
Don't be afraid, only fools and the dead.
From time to time, enemy shells occasionally explode in the fields around, so we need to work expeditiously and frequently.
The challenge for the sapper is that a lot of things are coming in from all sides.
Sappers are throwing shells and blocking the road from both sides to prevent criminal people from being endangered. And they blow up.
So we neutralized the munition. Here's the crater we ended up with. There were 13 shells here.
Sappers are working both at zero line and on the second line. We need to mine areas in front of the enemies and clear the roads for our own, while constantly deceiving them. Death. Relatives are waiting at home.
My family is waiting at home, so I believe everything will be fine. I worry the most about my brothers in arms.
I'm really worried about my comrades. The sappers return, and Aunt Yulia remains in the village, which is very close to Yar's time. She stays with the dog and thoughts about another night that needs to be survived.
That's all for today, but very soon the Front News program will feature new, unique materials from our journalists from the hottest spots of the war, to make sure you know the truth. You were with Volodymyr Tymoshenko. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.